So what's the biggest difference between the baby boomers and Gen X? The biggest gap is becoming the economic divide. What was attainable, what was provided, what disappeared by the time we arrived on the scene. Can we blame them for good timing? No, absolutely not. It's about understanding the wildly different financial terrain and how Gen X has been forced to adapt to a system that's been changing since the 80s. So keep watching and I'll show you how to take what you've got and how to MacGyver the heck out of it. Let's break down 6 ways that the financial world changed between the boomers and the Gen Xers, and how we can hopefully turn each one of these to our advantage. Of course, the first big difference is pensions versus DIY retirement. Now, we lost guaranteed pensions and got 401ks instead, something that we knew little to nothing about at the time. And a 401k comes up short without that promise of income for life option built in. Now, we got a few advantages a little earlier on than the boomers did. We got options to invest in a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, in addition to our 401ks. We also got access earlier to easy online investing tools. And hopefully we've used those advantages. And what we have to do is build our own pension, because we are the first fully DIY retirement generation. But we can actually own that and use every creative option that we can think of to make retirement even better. The second big difference is affordable housing versus permanent mortgage trap. Boomers inherited a housing boom. Starter homes were everywhere. Gen Xers inherited the housing crisis. We got to watch once bustling suburbs turn into foreclosure ghost towns. Now, the price per square foot of new homes has increased 30 to 50% since the late 90s, yet our wages have barely budged in the meantime. And with home equity loans and HELOCs increasing in popularity, it's no wonder only about 1 in 4 Gen Xers has paid off their mortgage. But here's the good news. If we can accelerate those payments or downsize, that house can become freedom instead of a burden. And paying it off before retirement means we can retire on so much less. And while it is true that a lot of Gen Xers own their homes, maybe not mortgage-free, but it's not without a hard road for many of us. And that's just number 2, so let's get on to the next one. The third big difference that I want to talk about is Social Security stability versus uncertainty. Talk about much better timing. Many boomers knew that their pension plus their Social Security check would be all they needed to retire. No need to plan, no need to sacrifice their younger years' paychecks to fund something that's decades away. And what Gen X gets in regards to Social Security is a lot of insecurity. For one, it's not enough anymore to make ends meet for the average American. And number 2, it's not even certain that we'll get 100% of that. With all of the funding shortfalls they keep talking about. Now, I suppose that carefree mentality that was born during Woodstock really did pass away once reality bites in the 90s. So how are we going to finagle this one? Really, what we really have in our control is to stand up to lifestyle creep. Really taking a hard look at what we're spending our money on. Coming back down to earth on all of our bling and our bells and our whistles. We know that even middle-of-the-road cars, middle-of-the-road houses, even average products are way better than what boomers even had access to when they were the age that we are now. And although we can't predict what Social Security is or will do, we can fix our spending habits, and that can give us some security. Okay, what else is different? Number 4, cheap degrees versus lifetime student debt. Now, when I read this stat, I thought a lot about it because college degrees, they weren't as accessible or even expected for young boomers. Not in the same way that it started becoming for Gen X, those of us graduating in the 80s and the 90s. We knew that the job market was going to be way too competitive to just try and get by on a high school degree alone. But for those boomers that did go to college, they got a good deal for sure. And what did Gen X get? Loans that never seemed to go away. And this may be hard to believe, but our generation carries more student loan debt than all other generations. And currently, the average Gen X student loan balance is $44,000. Why do we still owe that amount of money? Well, for one, more of us attended college, more of us pursued graduate degrees, and more of us are carrying Parent Plus loans for our kids' college. And if you're still paying on student loan debt, I know that you want rid of that debt. I know you want to be free of it. And what might seem impossible without a plan or without a strategy all becomes a lot clearer if you sit down and make some goals, build a spreadsheet if you must, whatever it takes to give yourself a vision that you can pay these off. You don't have to be paying on these student loans until the end of time. So what's the 5th difference between boomers and Gen X on the economic playing field? Well, that would be medical costs. And I mean, what can I say about this one? That boomers were lucky that they were closer to their Medicare years than we are? Because I don't know about you, but I know a lot of Gen Xers wish they had a health insurance plan with affordable premiums that stay pretty constant year after year. A health insurance plan that didn't have a deductible that costs more than what a used car goes for. And a health insurance plan that actually covers health expenses and doesn't fight you all the way on them. And boomers too, they got cheaper healthcare expenses in their prime working years as well, and that quicker escape to Medicare. So what are people my age doing? Some of them are delaying or avoiding health care. Some are being bankrupted by health expenses. And all of us are keenly aware that the system is quite scary. But what's the positive to all of this? It's that many Gen Xers are finally taking their health seriously and taking it into their own hands. Trying to eat better, lose weight, exercise more, sleep more, stress less. And this isn't a one and done event. It's something that we need to continue to do. But if we can get healthier and stay healthier, then we'll spend less of our retirement money on just trying to stay alive. Okay, the 6th difference that I want to point out is more of a cultural mindset. It's kind of security versus survival. Now, I've talked a lot in this video about how adaptable and resilient that my generation is. And it's because of how we grew up. We're a product of our environment. Growing up, we honed, these survival skills. And who's to say that we're better because of them? The generations living during the Great Depression and the world wars, they didn't ask for all of that social trauma. Now, I fully realize that the boomers didn't live through the most idyllic reality. They had plenty of things, societal things, that they experienced. But they were recipients of an era that gave rise to hope, expectation, and stability. Boomers grew up believing that the formula worked. Go to school, get a job, stay there for 40 years, retire at 65. And Gen X got something completely different from that. We learned that formulas, they can vanish. We've lived through recessions and crashes and layoffs and lots of shifting rules. But we also developed something powerful, and that's adaptability. We didn't get stability, but we did learn how to survive and even thrive in some instances without all of those guarantees. So what do we do with all of this? And that's the question that I keep coming back to. Because the world that we Gen Xers have inherited, it's not an easy one to navigate anymore. But can you imagine how much harder it would be if we didn't have that built-in resourcefulness and that resiliency that's always defined us? And still, I can't help but worry even more about the younger generations coming after us. They're inheriting even a tougher world, and I don't think we've done them justice. We've overprotected them. We've delayed their independence. And somewhere along the way, we've stopped letting them get bored. Now, I would love to hear your take on all of this. So drop a comment below and tell me what you think. And if you know someone from our generation that would get this, share this video with them too. Oh, and while we're still talking about boomers, you definitely want to check this video out next. The things that boomers want Gen X to know before it's too late. I'll link it right here. I hope you have a good week. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.